Coming up on Tech News Today, Adobe and Microsoft were in a room together alone. What were they doing? We'll speculate. Also, Motorola invades Apple. The patent wars are getting all 1917 here. It's like Archduke Franz Ferdinand got his patent violated or something. And BT has to open up their underground ducts. Quack.
Netcasts you love.
From people you trust.
This is TWiT.
Bandwidth for Tech News Today is provided by Cachefly at CACHEFLY.com.
This is Tech News Today for Thursday, October 7th, 2010. Tech News Today is brought to you by mailroute.info. That's R-O-U-T-E. MailRoute is a secure hosted service that provides enterprise-grade virus and spam filtering to companies of any size. Try it right now absolutely free at mailroute.info. Welcome to Tech News Today. I'm Tom Merritt.
I'm Dr. Kiki.
And I'm Jason Howell.
This is the show where we kick around the tech news of the day and bring it to you, help it all make sense. And helping us do that today is Veronica Belmont.
Yay!
I'm rocking out to your theme music.
Hey, thanks. I kind of like our theme music. It's pretty
Me
good.
too.
That Dan Looters, man. He deserves all the extra thanks we should give him all the time.
Totally.
So thanks.
Absolutely. Veronica Belmont, of course, host of Techzilla on Revision 3 and Core on the PlayStation Network, and more importantly, Sword and Laser on the Frog Pants Network. Swordandlaser.com, right? Is that where your show
That is, in fact, our URL, Tom.
Right.
Yes.
Oh, right. I almost forgot. I co-host that show.
You're like, oh, that Veronica Belmont.
Oh, right.
Oh, awkward.
So, top story right now, just breaking. Turns out Adobe and Microsoft sitting in a conference room. TALKING. Oh. Steve Ballmer and Adobe's and the head of Adobe, Shantanu Narain, met for over an hour. Just and apparently chatted about what to do about Apple, how they could partner up and help each other out. And there's even now, of course, a bunch of scuttlebutt that acquisition talks were part of this.
Yeah,
Although
the
if they
battle lines are being drawn, huh?
Yeah, Microsoft and Adobe like teaming up.
Which is completely different from the historical precedent of Flash versus Silverlight. Everything we must have, you know, we're going to compete against each other. And
Adobe has historically been on Apple's side, haven't they?
Yeah.
Kind of.
Kind of. I mean, maybe not intentionally, but kind of.
They sort of went together. Yeah, so this really no knowing what exactly was discussed in there. The Times is reporting this, New York Times. Yeah. And they hint at the possibility that Microsoft might buy Adobe. But as Ina Fried over at CNET points out, that's a $14.5 billion company. That's Microsoft reportedly has bought nobody this year. Apparently, secretly, they bought a few really small companies. Mm-hmm. That is a big sandwich.
It's a big sandwich.
Yeah.
It would be interesting to see Flash in Windows Phone 7, though. That would be pretty cool. I know a lot of people are like, oh, we don't need Flash on handheld devices, but obviously people still want it because they've been complaining about not having Flash on the iPhone for years.
Yeah, people are making fun of Windows Phone 7 as like being an Apple imitator because they don't have Flash.
Yeah. I think they'll probably fix that in the near future if these discussions have any merit.
Absolutely. Well, they didn't have me.
Yeah,
they probably had some.
That would lend a lot more
credence.
credence.
Word anymore.
I know, right?
Some more leaks about Sony's Google TV. They're not going to have anything left to announce next week when they actually make their announcement. Looks like Sony Insider has a leak saying that there will be 4 models, a 24, 32, 40, and 46-inch Sony TV with Google TV built in. And the prices, at least for 3 of them, will be $1,300, $1,500, and $1,900. That's for the 32, 40, and 46-inch, respectively.
Yeah, that's no problem, right? You all have wallets that big, right?
Well, 32-inch TV for $1,300 is what you would have expected to pay in what, 2006, 2005?
As they say in the Engadget article, that's more than the top line Bravias at this point. I mean, I would just want to spend the $300 on a set-top box that I could change if I wanted to. I don't like having TVs that are dedicated to this kind of thing.
Yeah, I actually pre-ordered the Logitech box. It's $300. It's a little pricey, but I want to try it out. I'm addicted to trying these things out. I've got the Boxy Box pre-ordered as well. So
Oh, nice.
I want the one that works. I want the one that does everything. So I always want to try these things out, and then I just sell them on Gazelle afterwards.
But is there one that ever does anything? I mean, everything all
Not
at once?
yet.
I've been trying to
Not yet.
plan to do this giant Excel document that has all the features and, stuff that all these set-top boxes do, just so you can see them all laid out.
I want to see it
just
by
haven't gotten around
show.
to it.
Like,
a whole show about it?
Well, no, by show. Like, what shows are available in what ways? Like on Apple TV, you might have to download it, but on the Roku, you'd be able to stream it because you have Netflix. Although Netflix is now available on Apple TV. So, but you know what I mean? Like, so I can look at the shows that I want to watch and say which box is right for me because it has access to all those shows.
I don't
We could do that.
understand.
It would take a while.
Why don't you just build yourself a PC, media computer? You can then hook it up to your television, and then you can change
I have
your
one.
media
I have one of
computer.
those, but it's really bulky. Yeah. You can control it with a remote control, but it doesn't. It's not well designed for that. That's why Boxy is so good because it is designed for that, and you can run it on your remote, but it doesn't have everything.
It doesn't have everything. Exactly.
That's why most people say Mac Mini because it has a good remote interface with Front Row.
Right. Well, you want all the content. You also want the ease of use factor and like a really slick layout and display so you can get to your content really easily. But at the same time, then you miss some of the content you might be able to normally get just on a PC.
All right, well, let's take a quick break to thank our sponsor, mailroute.info. I apologize. I want to take this moment to apologize to everyone who went to MAILROOT because I was not pronouncing it in my native Southern Illinois accent and saying mail route. I was saying mail route because I was putting on airs, and it confused you. So I apologize. It's mail route, like row route. That's what we called rural route. Rural Route 5.
Okay.
That's what all the county roads were called back in the day. They all have names now. But anyway, route, R-O-U-T-E. It is email protection service, and I've been using it now for a week, and I have saved my email that I didn't think I could ever use again. Subbrilliant.com email just became a spam haven, and I stopped using it in 2002. I've put MailRoute on it now, and I am able to use it again because it has blocked, I think, over 96% of the incoming mail, and I never see it. Never even goes into a Gmail. I have Google Apps for the domain on Subbrilliant.com. Doesn't even go to a junk folder. It's gone. I don't have to deal with it. I can go look at it. If I'm afraid of false positives, I can go take a look. They quarantine the stuff, but there's nothing worthwhile in there. It's not hitting any false positives. I tried. I asked Twitter people. I'm like, email me, acedetect@subbrilliant.com. I invited the spammers. Still works great. So here's how it works for you. If you run a mail server and you want to make it easier to get rid of that spam, you try it out. You get 10% off the life of your account if you go to mailroute.info. It's cost you $2 per user per month. Outbound services can be used 50 cents per user per month. And if you're a small business or if you own your own mail server for family or friends, this can help a lot. They're also coming out with a smaller license for users like those in our audience who may not have 50 accounts, but they run several accounts. So check it out, mailroute.info, and we thank them for their support. Motorola is throwing the book at Apple. I made a map and I forgot to bring it down. It's sitting up on my desk. Because
great.
we saw the chart yesterday of all the patent wars, and now that Motorola has rolled into Apple land with these patent lawsuits, it really does look like World War I.
That's a great chart, by the way. This really lays it out very nicely to see everyone who's coming after Apple. And everyone else, for that matter.
Motorola Mobility has filed patent infringements complaints against Apple in Northern Illinois and Southern Florida federal district courts. It has also asked the International Trade Commission to block Apple from importing, marketing, or selling iPhones, iPads, iPod Touches, and some Macs. So they're coming out both barrels firing.
Not good.
Motorola's 4 complaints involve a total of 18 patents, which the company says cover everything from 3G, GPRS, 802.11, antenna design, proximity sensing, mobile me, iOS, you name it. Apple is allegedly infringing it. And on top of that, now they're getting grief from this guy, Ryan Block, over at Gadget.
Who's that?
Who's this guy? No, Ryan, of course, one of the co-founders of Gadget, former Engadget editor-in-chief, and he is pointing out that glass problems with the iPhone may be the next headache for Apple instead of the antenna. They seem to have weathered the antenna just fine. But if you use a case that has a back on it, sometimes stuff gets caught in there and scratches up the back and eventually weakens it, and some folks are reporting that the glass breaks.
Glassgate.
He's calling it Glassgate.
Glassgate. Yeah, I'm getting a little tired of the whole gates situation.
Well, it doesn't really make any sense because Watergate wasn't a compound word. It was just the name of a hotel.
Right.
Yeah.
I know. I'll have to tease him about it later.
But how widespread do we think this is? Is this going to be another antenna gate type thing, or is this something that does happen, but it doesn't happen so widely that it will cause a press conference or anything like that?
Well, I'm really curious to see exactly, like you said, how many people are suffering from this kind of situation, and if it's a ongoing kind of thing, like will more people be noticing it as time goes on because they've had their cases on for longer, or is it the kind of thing that is just, you know, a smaller scale kind of level that could really happen with any phone that has a case on it with glass involved? I guess how many really do, though?
How many pull their phones in and out of cases, too?
I do occasionally to get the battery out of. But
Well, that's
of
not a
my
problem for
Android.
iPhone users.
I know
Right.
you can't remove the battery.
I take the case off every so often to fit it in chargers that don't fit with the case on it.
That's usually
That's
the only
really-
reason I take it out, yeah.
Yeah, so that's not too often these days, but yeah, I mean, I'd like to hear from people in the audience who have been having this issue, if anyone has. I don't know if it's something that's been reported a lot.
And is this really something? I mean, it's glass on the back of a phone. This is not interfering with the phone's functionality. It's maybe proof that you've been using your phone, that you have a reason to take the case on and off, or that you don't have a case at all.
Shattered glass.
Well,
though.
yeah, and
But
Apple
if it's
is
not,
so
if it's
about
not shards that are
aesthetics.
sticking you in the fingers, you know, if you're not bleeding, what
Right.
damage has it done?
I think you're right. There needs to be blood.
Right.
Who has first blood?
Because I've seen Brian Brushwood and Patrick Norton with their broken front iPhones that they've smashed and still work fine.
Still work fine.
They're not pretty.
Yeah, but no one wants that.
Nobody wants it. No,
Right,
but they
exactly.
still
And when
actually
they make
work.
claims about how sturdy and strong their glass is, like you would expect this not to happen.
Yep.
Right.
I think Audible Magic in the chat room put it best. It's not all it's cracked up to be. Verizon and Apple, more news coming from the Wall Street Journal overnight. They added to their story about Verizon iPhones coming out. They strengthened the language, said there is definitely a Verizon iPhone coming out. They also filled in some holes in the story, at least that's the way Apple Insider put it. The report shed some light on negotiations, including Apple and Verizon having problems over the number of retail stores that would be allowed to sell it, Verizon retail partners that would be allowed to sell it, and Verizon not wanting to give up its ability to sell content like music and videos through their Vcast service.
Which is
Why
something
can't
that
they just compromise and make like a Vcast app?
That
Right,
seems the
that would-
obvious way, right?
Yeah, where everything on the iPhone is app driven.
But Apple doesn't want it pre-installed. Even if that's what they got to, is there'd be a Vcast app. Verizon's like, great, it'll be pre-installed on all Verizon iPhones. And Apple would say, no,
Nope.
it will not.
Right, because Apple's going to want the iTunes store to be the one that people go to.
And they don't
That's-
like crapware.
Right.
They're very, I mean, they do have pre-installed apps, but they very guard what gets pre-installed very ferociously.
Well, if they make sure that the Vcast app is a very nice app,
Well, there's that,
lives up
too.
to the Apple standards.
It definitely
Oh,
duplicates
competition in music sales.
functionality that is already found on the iPhone. Nobody else is
That's
allowed to
true.
have another store. So they'd have to make an exception for it. Verizon president and COO Lowell McAdam. How hard is McAdam to say, Merritt? Jeez. Lowell McAdam said that any indication of a Verizon iPhone would need to come from Apple. So non-denial denial there. Not a, we're not good enough yet, which is the last thing a Verizon official said. You guys, you need to save, I don't know, $1 trillion or so?
Eventually.
Yeah.
I need to be able
I'd
to
love to make a
spend
trillion
$1 trillion.
$1 million would be nice.
Well, the
even.
Tech CEO Council, made up of, among others, Michael Dell of Dell and Paul Otellini of Intel and Greg Brown of Motorola, who, when he's not suing Apple, is busy figuring out how to save the U.S. government $1 trillion over the next decade. They dubbed their report 1 Trillion Reasons. Each reason worth $1. Basically, some of these are really straightforward stuff. They believe the federal government should consolidate data centers. They could save $76 billion a year just bringing all the data centers into one area, just with some efficiency. They said the U.S. government should streamline its supply chain. The group says such efforts could net the government $500 billion over 10 years. Do some analytics. This is the one that will never happen. They might consolidate the data center. They might make the supply chain more efficient. But this third one is do some analytics. $200 billion could be saved over the next 10 years by analyzing payments being dispersed through Medicare, federal grants, and tax refunds. The Government Accountability Office believes that $72 billion in improper payments are made every year.
That's a lot. That's a lot just in, oops, we messed up some payments. So.
Yeah. Why don't I ever get any of those accidental payments?
Ooh, here you go, Tom.
Where's my accidental disbursement?
Yeah, all of this, a lot of this stuff that they've brought up in this article seems kind of like obvious stuff to be dealt with. But at the same time, it's really interesting that when you have the government, which is bloated as a result of local versus federal, you have different institutions that go, you know, oh, we're going to open up a new wing here. We're going to have a different group in charge of this here. A lot of things just kind of get split up. And as a result, it just becomes less and less efficient over time. And we're looking at a government that's entirely not efficient at this point in time. I think it's a great idea to bring like the business mentality to the government to be able to say, let's try and put what we've learned in the tech world into practice in the government, see if they can actually take these changes to heart and do it. Whether they'll do it or not, it remains to be seen. However, the government has already applied a lot of energy saving measures to a lot of areas of the government. So a lot of buildings across the government have gotten all sorts of...
Like compact fluorescence?
Compact fluorescence, solar. They're different. They're remodeling some buildings to make them more heat efficient, more energy efficient, putting cool roof material on buildings to make sure that they don't have to use as much air conditioning. There are
anything
a lot
that saves us money,
happening.
anything that actually saves the government money, I'm all for.
Yeah, and they're doing things currently. So we'll see how far it gets.
I don't have much hope for it.
Yeah, I know, right? But go
it's one
CEOs.
thing to have good ideas. It's another thing to get them actually passed through the government.
Yeah,
That's the hard
exactly.
part. Getting everyone to agree.
Here's something that I say over and over. Don't believe the lies about bandwidth shortage. There is, in fact, no real bandwidth shortage. Bandwidth needs are actually slowing, and there's plenty of capacity. Ars Technica has a story right now. International Internet backbone links saw a surge in capacity during 2010 with total bandwidth growing by 55%, which is big growth, but it's actually slower than in years past. And carriers are having no trouble keeping up with the demand. We're not seeing an exaflood. We're seeing a leveling out on the backbone.
So the tubes are unclogging.
There is no clog.
No clog at all.
No, we don't even need to buy Drano.
The only clog that you will see is the one in your local neighborhood.
Exactly. They haven't added that capacity into your home.
Yes.
Possibly, unless you're on Verizon Fios or something. But in most cases, no. So when these ISPs trot out all of these like, oh, it's so costly, bandwidth is actually cheaper now. The net results paying for transit is now cheaper than it's ever been. In New York and London, transit can be purchased from a carrier for around $10 per megabit per second per month. This is super cheap. 13 terabits per second of bandwidth were added to international links this year alone. So there are plenty of reasons why they're not able to deliver you the bandwidth that you want in your house, but that there isn't the capacity and it's too costly are both not it.
Lies.
They maybe don't want to spend the money to upgrade your local service. They may have a lot of old wire that they have to get rid of, or they just may be greedy. I don't know. All right, and finally, the anti-counterfeiting trade agreement, which I know sometimes people roll their eyes and don't really care, but the ACTA draft upsets me for two reasons. One was that it was actually negotiated in secret originally because they couldn't get the same stuff passed in the open through the United Nations. So the United States went and decided, well, we'll secretly negotiate this. There were some really awful things in here. They would make it a crime to unlock a DVD, which is what we have here in the U.S. anyway with the DMCA. They would ban tools that unlock digital rights management across the world. They would allow you to have your data searched when you cross the border for any reason whatsoever. And they would demand countries hold internet providers responsible for copyright infringement committed by their subscribers. Well, all of those things I just mentioned were reasons why everyone was upset about ACTA. They're all gone. They've published what they consider the final draft of ACTA, and all of those things have been pulled out. There's some stuff that remains up in the air. Patent right disputes are still part of the deal, which the U.S. wanted to get rid of. Does not feature the phrase fair use anywhere. Right, which leaves it really open. And the biggest ACTA issue is that the signing countries are not the problem. These are the signing countries. U.S., European Union, Australia, Canada, Japan, Korea, Morocco, New Zealand, Singapore, Switzerland, and Mexico, although Mexican Senate's saying they don't want to sign it. This does not include the people often cited as being the biggest infringers. China, Russia.
Yeah, that's a really good point.
Yeah.
So why bother?
Why bother?
I don't know. Anyway, ACTA has been dragged out into the light. A lot of its worst provisions have been pulled out of it. EU is kind of cold on it. They don't really want to pass it. Now Mexico is cold on it. They don't really want to pass it. So I'm hoping the thing dies.
Yeah. I think everyone just wants to be able to maintain their own ability to make their own rules, their own laws, and just not have to play with everybody else in the sandbox.
Yeah. We should put a moratorium on changing copyright law for 15 years until we actually see what's needed. Right now, there's a lot of knee-jerk reaction going on.
That's an interesting idea.
Time for the news fuse. A tweaked unofficial version of the Skype app for Android is out now that allows you to make Skype calls over your 3G connection instead of being restricted to Wi-Fi. To install the tweaked version, uninstall the official Skype app if you have it installed. Download the tweaked version from the droidforums.net thread, move it onto an SD card, use a file APK manager to sideload it, and you've got Skype goodness over 3G.
Woohoo!
Yahoo unveiled new features to the front of its search service, which is powered by Microsoft Bing on the back end, but still all Yahoo-y on the front.
Yahoo!
Yahoo-y. Hooey. Among the improvements are a tie-in to Netflix service, emphasis on slideshows in image search, faster mobile search, and search shortcuts based around a common source like video or Twitter.
Now, towns without football teams can look forward to Verizon's fast 4G wireless service by the end of the year. Expanding on its previous promise of NFL towns, Verizon now says it'll be in 38 markets and around 60 airports with 4G LTE by the end of 2010. Most of the coverage will be in the northeastern part of the U.S.
Tesla Roadsters might catch fire.
Oh,
great. But only in 40% of the cases, and it's really not a large fire. It's just like a small fire.
A small fire.
In a statement posted on its website, the firm says that it has decided to initiate a safety recall after an electrical fault occurred in one of its $100,000 Roadster sports cars. Apparently, the issue only affects the Roadster models 2.0 and 2.5. Earlier 1.5 vehicles don't have the offending cable.
Oh, that's nice. Is Valve being pissy with Microsoft? Here are the details. You be the judge. New content for Left 4 Dead 2 has launched on the PC for free. On the Xbox, it cost you 560 points, which is about $7. In addition, the price of the full PC version of Left 4 Dead 2 has been lowered to $6.79. That's 20 cents less than the expansion content sells for on the Xbox. Valve has previously stated they would prefer to give away game updates on Xbox Live, but Microsoft won't allow them to do so.
A survey of more than 1,500 Facebook users on Twitter finds users who spend obsessive amounts of time on the site have a higher likelihood of being unfriended. University of Colorado Denver Business School student Christopher Sabona, everyone tweet this now, a PhD student in the Computer Science and Information Systems program, found the #1 reason for unfriending is frequent, unimportant posts. Quote, the 100th post about your favorite band is no longer interesting, he said.
Was it interesting? All right. According to the Microsoft Security Response Center, Microsoft will issue 16 security bulletins addressing 49 vulnerabilities on Tuesday, October 12th. It is the largest Patch Tuesday ever.
After the last
Since the last Patch Tuesday, which was the largest ever. They're going to host a webcast this time to address customer questions the following day, so Webcast Wednesday. Look forward to that. 4 of the vulnerabilities are critical. The list affects XP, Vista, 7, both versions of Server, as well as most flavors of Office.
I like chocolate chip and mint. It's good.
Chocolate chip mint
The
Office.
chocolate chip version of Office.
You'll need to patch that with pistachio.
And British regulator Ofcom has required ISP BT to allow competitors control of its fiber cables in a move designed to promote development of superfast broadband services. Please listen to this. The regulator has also told BT that it must give rival ISPs access to its underground ducts and telegraph poles to build their own fiber networks.
That's underground.
It's so cute how they spell it F-I-B-R-E.
Ducts, not underground ducks.
DUCTS.
BT, British Telecom, not Brian Tong, as underground ducts, not underground ducks.
Yes.
Although it'd be awesome if they had little underground ducts that worked on the fiber.
Meh, meh.
All right, finally, MIT has developed a medical lab mirror that can tell your pulse with a webcam. I'm not sure why we need the mirror part of it, but the way it works is the webcam can tell fluctuations in the color of your face and deduce your pulse and give you a pulse rate.
Yeah, I think it's a really, really neat idea. I mean, there's part of it that I'm kind of like, yeah, okay, the mirror is a little gimmicky. And why not just,
it's just a two-way mirror with the webcam
readings
behind it.
Well, it's just a way that people can kind of interact with it and use it all the time, probably.
Yeah. Right. It would make it a little more user-friendly. You go sit, instead of staring at a camera, you can go stare at yourself.
Yeah.
When you're getting ready in the morning, I mean, come on.
Yeah.
Everyone does it, right?
Yeah. The idea, though, is that you would be able to put such a webcam or a mirror in a hospital room and enable monitoring of patients so that you wouldn't have to have all sorts of heart monitor wires attached to the people, and they might actually get a good night's sleep without, ripping the wires out of
I like the idea of going to WebMD or something and having them say hey, we can tell what your heart rate is, and here's some, here's some tips to bring, to get a healthier heart rate, or here's where you are on the scale of a healthy heart rate for your age and height and all of that stuff.
And if it's in a hospital, because you know what sick people love to do? Look at themselves being sick all day.
Oh, yeah. People love that. This is so weird that this story came up because as I was sick, I had some medication that I got to take 3 times a day.
In front of the mirror.
And well, actually, just the other morning, I was standing in front of the mirror. I was like, what if this mirror, reminded me, gave me a reminder, take your medication this morning? That would be pretty cool.
Yeah.
So this is... See, I'm liking the other part of this, the whole mirror thing.
Oh, that's cool.
Mirror on the wall.
You're so vain.
You probably think this heart rate's about you.
23 hours a day.
You took my next half of my joke,
Damn.
Tom.
Damn it.
Was it funny, though?
Oh, it was.
On to our voicemails, 260-TNT show. Our first caller has some more insight on roaming agreements between carriers.
Hey, TNT crew, this is Phone Boy. I wanted to
Hello, Phone
make
Boy.
a comment about something that was said on episode 89 about why Canadian iPhones get coverage on more carriers than ones that are on AT&T in the U.S. And it has to do with roaming agreements. The Canadian carrier Rogers has no presence in the U.S., and so they have roaming agreements with every GSM provider. And so every time you pick up a tower, it will allow you on. Whereas if you have an AT&T iPhone, AT&T restricts you from using the other GSM carriers. And it has absolutely nothing to do with the internals of the phone. It has everything to do with the roaming agreements that the different carriers have. And obviously, AT&T doesn't want to give roaming minutes to the other carriers where it provides service. So that's why a Canadian iPhone gets perhaps better signal, or at least maybe drops fewer calls or whatever than the AT&T bought iPhones in the U.S. Love the show, guys.
Cool. And AT&T does have roaming in the U.S. You have free roaming. If you're in New Mexico, you won't be on AT&T anymore. You'll be on whatever. There's a New Mexico carrier that you use. But they don't have roaming where AT&T has service, right? So if you're in an area where AT&T has service, but the service just isn't really good, the phone won't just go switch to T-Mobile because T-Mobile has a stronger signal. They make you stay on AT&T.
On AT&T.
That's why it'd be nice to have a Canadian phone, because it'll just find the strongest one and be like, oh, yeah. Because that's what happens when I take my iPhone overseas. If I'm in the UK, I may be on O2, I may be on Vodafone. It's just going to find whatever the strongest signal is.
And you're a happy phone user.
On to the emails to TNT@twit.tv. Cindy writes in and says, I'm writing because I am one of the people waiting for the next WebOS phone. And if David Spark wants to find more, he can head right on over to PreCentral.net. I bought my Pre the week it came out on Sprint, so I've been eligible for a new phone since June. Yet I am waiting for the next WebOS phone because I love my Pre, and I want my next phone to be a WebOS phone. I really like the interface. I like the portrait slider keyboard. I don't think WebOS gets the credit it deserves. And for the record, I'm pretty sure I am the one of the least popular people on Earth. Wow.
I'm not one of the least popular.
I'm sorry, I misread that.
This is not.
Makes a big difference. I am not one of the least popular people on Earth. No, you're not, Cindy.
He's like, I'm just clearing the air here.
It didn't make any sense.
Tom.
Plenty of people on this rock who are much more deserving of that title than Cindy. My mistake, Cindy. And Cindy is a representative of about 7 people who wrote in very angry saying, I love WebOS.
Yeah. Anytime you go on a podcast and say nobody wants Exhibit A,
It's an invitation.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, yeah. Big
Because
time.
nobody uses Opera.
All right, and then you guys also got an email that says, hi, Tom, Sarah, and Becky. Oh, I
And
don't
Veronica.
They didn't know.
And Veronica.
Thank you. Thank you. They didn't know. I've just been browsing through the jobs, grown, I know, listings at Apple UK, and there's a pretty intriguing post that mentions establish and develop supplier strategies and relationships for 3D components and fixtures. Fairly obvious move by Apple going into 3D, yes, and you may have already reported on it. Just wondering, other than iPad 2 or iPhone 5, do you think Apple could be working on an actual Apple TV? Lots of love for the show, you and your guest. Try to get Kelly Lewis on more, please. Dickie in Newcastle upon Tyne, UK.
Castle upon Tyne. Newcastle upon Tyne. I'd like to go there and drink your beer. What do you think? So hiring somebody to establish and develop supplier strategies, that means we need 3D components to go into a device. But they wouldn't build their own TV.
Well, I mean, I was actually thinking a TV was going to come when they announced the new iTV. I thought an actual TV was somewhere along the line, but it wasn't the case. Maybe somewhere down within the next couple of years at this point. Makes sense.
Would we see a 3D iPod Touch
That's definitely possible.
with a lenticular?
I mean, if they go
display?
into gaming, I mean, if you see where gaming is going within the next few years, most of it's going towards 3D. And then if you see where the touch is going, it's becoming a major gaming device for handheld. So there could be some synchronicity there.
I'm sorry, I'm cracking myself up imagining like Farmville 3D.
Is it really that hard to imagine, though?
You know, where is gaming
really,
going? Gaming is going toward these like really 2D kind of
You're thinking of We Rule and-
greed-driven
yeah.
games. Farmville, We Rule.
All right, that's
3D.
There's a lot of 3D games. It is pretty funny to think about that way.
Well, we've
Sorry.
played those forever. They're board games, right?
Ooh,
And we see those in
right.
3D. Did I just blow your mind?
You just blew my mind.
Wait until you get to play the patent war version of Risk in 3D.
I'm waiting
Yes.
for you to create that. Get going. All right. Hey, TNT crew. On yesterday's show, you were discussing the new Facebook Groups feature, but we're unsure of the specifics. It just so happens I set one up for me and my friends. We used to have a Facebook message thread between us, but where we showed each other funny things we saw on the web. But after over 1,000 messages, the thread took forever to load. So I decided to set this up to see if it works better. Here's all the stuff I've figured out privacy-wise. First, the group starts out closed, which means no one sees the content, but you can you can find the group and request to join. A more private state is secret, which means only people in the group can see the group and its contents. Whomever creates the group is an admin, and only admins can kick people from a group. The admin can make anyone in the group an admin. Anyone in the group can add other people, but if someone requests to join the group, only the admins can accept or deny them. That's all the real important information about privacy. In my opinion, this thing is great, and we love it. Hope this helps. Andrew from Philly. Go Phillies!
Wow, yeah. Phillies are doing well so far in the postseason. But that was, you know what I liked is that he did a really good job of laying out what the issues are as far as groups. I do have a problem with the groups allowing everyone in the group to be able to add other people. It will restrict how I use it, in other words, because, you know, the group can sort of get out of hand. And yes, as an admin, you can go kick people out if you need to, but I don't know. It's just a weird thing that you should be able to allow or disallow depending on the nature of the group, I feel like.
You should be able to choose.
Yeah, that's what I think.
Yeah, the group thing's already kind of driving me crazy.
Yeah,
Getting
have you been
to a lot
invited
of
in?
groups.
Yeah.
Not too many, actually. I was expecting it to be a little bit worse. And it's nice that you can change the notifications. But one thing that Jim Louderback actually said in one of the groups that I'm a member of, he says he wishes there was like a weekly or daily digest that you could get. So you didn't have to get all the updates, even if it's just from your friends who happen to be in the group as well. But I would like a daily digest update like you get with Pages of all the posts that are being made in the groups that you follow.
Yeah, I think that's true, too, because I'm a member of a group that's been very active, and it's been really hard to keep up with all the bacon, all of the email and notices.
I never have trouble keeping up with bacon.
Well, you know, I want to just...
For the record.
I meant the BCN, not the BAC.
The back-end.
I know.
But yeah, I mean, yeah, you can filter and put it in a folder and everything, but it's just like, oh, that's kind of a... Then I just start ignoring it, so it's not as useful anymore. Well, Veronica, thank you so much for taking the time to be on the show. It was great to have you.
Thank you for having me.
Good to see you, Veronica.
We will have you back again.
Right? All right. Please do.
And let folks know where they can find you in the meantime.
You can find all my stuff on about.me/Veronica or veronicabelmont.com, and I'm just Veronica on Twitter.
And don't forget to watch Dr. Kiki's Science Hour and This Week in Science with Dr. Kiki, if you'd like more Dr. Kiki, which why wouldn't you?
I don't know.
And
some people have their reasons.
If you really wanted more of me and Jason, you can get that tomorrow on TNT.
Yeah, we'll be back.
More TNT.
Twit.tv/TNT is our home on the internet. You can give us a call, 260-TNT-SHOW. Who knows? I might pick up the phone. Probably not, though. And you can email us, TNT@twit.tv. We'll see you tomorrow.